What's up, everybody? It's Erik here at EK Baller with my good friend Kyle at KL Fantasy.
Hey,
Hi, Kyle. I ambushed Kyle. We've been doing a little bit of prep, and I think it's time to get in here and talk. So, obviously, it's been a wild couple of days so far in the transfer portal for college football. We're really seeing the floodgates open this year. Over 1,000 players have entered the transfer portal in just 24 hours. Is this good? Is this bad? I don't know, but it's certainly going to be fun for those of us that are fans. How are you feeling about it so far, Kyle?
Oh, it's fun when it's the guys here, that aren't on your team, and it's not so fun when it is the guys on your team. But
yeah, well, I feel like you're going to be on the receiving end of a lot of this. I mean, Tennessee's got to be a destination at this point for guys looking for opportunity and to make an impact in a high-octane offense, I think.
Yeah, but not just your real team, your fantasy teams too. It hurt me when I saw Austin Reed. There's no way he ends up in a better destination to score college points.
Yeah, one of my league mates, who I will not name drop, who is a big-time podcaster and analyst, tried to trade me like Austin Reed for Aaron Jones today. I was like, dude, come on. Like, the guy doesn't even have a job. Like, man, I was a little bit offended at that one. It was that. He offered me something else awful. It's like, come on, man. So, look, what we want to do tonight is just kind of sketch through some of the big names in the portal so far. Not a lot of commits, so I think we're going to do some more work on this over the next couple of weeks. But, we're really excited. We wanted to kind of hop on and talk through some of the, potential splash changes that could be happening here. So, I don't know, Kyle, you want to lead us off with, maybe one or two of your top wide receivers or quarterbacks?
I actually just received news. Every single transfer we're about to talk about is going to Colorado.
I honestly wouldn't be shocked. I mean, Prime seems like a magnetic personality, and there's going to be bags handed out left and right.
So where are we starting? Are we starting at quarterbacks or wide receivers?
The start of the top. I was just scrolled down too far. So what's your top quarterback in the portal right now?
Depends what we're talking about. I mean, I think from an NFL Devy perspective, it's between either Devin Leary or Jacoby Criswell. Obviously, Leary we've seen more from him than Criswell, because Criswell hasn't really had a chance to start much. Obviously, he lost the job to Drake May, which is no slander whatsoever when you're considering the season that May had after that.
Criswell gets the transitive property, right? Like you were head to head with a guy that we think's an elite NFL talent. So all the good things in the world may come to him.
Yeah, I mean, those two are the ones that kind of jump off the page to me. Obviously, you have to talk about DJ Uiagalelei, even though the lack of success at Clemson is pretty obvious. He still was an incredibly highly touted recruit. I think
a lack of success, like relative too, right? I mean, they were still a 9-win team, made some play.
I mean, they won games. That's not really what I meant, though. He was like the least efficient quarterback in the entire NCAA.
So where do you think he goes? Where do you think DJU goes? He's got to be
UCLA.
Going down a tier. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I see the play style, right? I mean, they want a mobile guy in there, but I don't know.
I think he's definitely going back to the West Coast. And then he can't go to USC because Caleb Williams. Yeah. I mean, I think DTR is out of eligibility, so UCLA.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you this though: if you're Kelly, would you rather have DJU or Spencer Sanders?
Depends what the goal is.
Fan? I mean, Sanders is going to win you some games. You want to win the Pac-12, right?
I don't know.
He can at least process the field.
I think DJ gives you a higher ceiling, even if Sanders gives you a higher floor.
Yeah. I'd say there's still a world where DJ, the game starts to slow down for him a little more, because that's the thing that's killing him, right? He just is not seeing
And he
things
gets a
that
better offensive
processing.
coordinator.
Yeah, maybe good protection and a little bit less stout defenses he's playing against. And,
Not even that. He just needs an offensive coordinator that knows more than like 4 routes.
that is a harsh indictment of the Clemson offense. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
it's been horrible.
Yeah. So
I mean,
there's some other. Oh, go ahead.
He could have at least told DJ, like, hey, we're going to snap it to you and you're going to throw it to Will Shipley in space. Like, anything would have been better than what the heck they were trying to do. But apparently Klubnik's good enough to, I don't know.
Would you not like Klubnik?
No. If Klubnik succeeds like he did last week, Klubnik's amazing if he continues to succeed.
You just think he'll hide the sins of the coaching staff.
If he does, he is incredible, is what I'm trying to say.
I think he is. I think it's gonna. I think you're right. He's gonna save some jobs there. So yeah, I mean, one of the other names we had at the top here is Phil Jakovic, transferring out of Boston College. He's one of the only commitments we have landing at Pitt. How you feeling about that?
Just made a lot of sense. I mean, Frank Cignetti Jr. left Boston College to go to Pitt last year, and just following the OC. Obviously, Slovis didn't quite work out. So gotta try something else. And Jerkovic makes sense.
I think the good games from Jerkovic are decent, right? I could see him having some success there.
I think they were decent until last year, and who knows if that's the new OC or lingering injury issues, but hopefully he's healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, I didn't watch a lot of BC this year, but a couple of years ago I did when Zay Flowers first broke out, and man, he was slinging the ball. So I think that the next group we have here is some lower level guys, but that both you and I are pretty interested in. We got a couple of athletic rushing quarterbacks that have a really high ceiling. I kind of feel the same about both of the Mikes here, right? Like Mike Wright, we've seen him be absolutely electric. Seen him struggle throwing the ball a little bit. I don't know, but what
you know where he fit really well? Navy.
Oh, that's just mean, though. I mean, look, I think that a lot of guys a tier down, a lot of staffs are going to be excited to get a guy like him, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hopefully somewhere he can maybe learn a little bit behind a guy with a similar playing style, get an OC that knows how to call plays for that. And then, I mean,
if Mike Wright is willing to go out there and run the read option, he's an incredible CFF asset. But
yeah. I mean, I think you just need him to be. You need him to have a little bit more consistency, so he doesn't have the games where he, gets you a 4, right? I mean, that was what's happened at Vanderbilt. He'd get you 44 points one week, and then he'd play a stout defense, and they would just stuff the box, and he would just have negative points, and it was brutal.
Well, if he goes group of 5, he won't have to play stout defenses.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited for that. Then another guy that I think's, in the same mold as that is Mike Keene from UCF. We saw him make some really nice plays this year with his legs, and be able to throw the ball a little bit. Do you get a temperature on Keene at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, if he also goes down and wants to play the read option offense, he can be quite the CFF producer. But I think that's bigger news for honestly the rest of the roster at UCF. I think that means it's Thomas Castellanos is the future there, and he's hella intriguing too. Super athletic, like insanely athletic there. So that's the guy I'm more interested in that than
I don't know
Keene.
much about Castellanos. Is he a good passer?
Not yet. But the intangibles are there. The raw athleticism is out the wazoo. So
I know he's a good place to start. And talking about other young guys with athleticism, we got Nick Evers highlighted here on your list. How you feeling about?
Yeah,
Evers?
I mean that's a highly touted recruit who probably never even had a chance to win that Oklahoma job. Like, didn't even stay until next year, where I think he would have had a chance, which is really interesting. So yeah, I think he'll end up somewhere in the P5. Not a top 15 team, but I think he's a P5 starter next year, most likely.
He definitely has the talent. I mean, I guess that means Gabriel's coming back too, right?
Can he?
COVID, man. I mean, he was on his fourth or fifth year already, but
does he get a COVID red shirt and an injury red shirt?
He might, man. Why not? It's the Stetson Bennett plan. If Stetson Bennett can be a Heisman finalist, then all these guys are just going to start playing until they're old men in college football. And why the hell not?
Yeah. I mean, there's still more of a bag in the NFL, but I don't know.
Yeah. If you can get drafted on an NFL team, I mean, if you're going to be a training camp body, then no, like stay and get your few $100,000 from whatever boosters you can. Next guy I had here that I'm interested in was Davis Brin from Tulsa. I mean, a little bit of inconsistency, but he had some really nice games this year.
No, Brin's a baller. Absolutely. Definitely a guy who can move up.
Right? Yeah. One of the only guys here.
Yeah, same thing for Colin Schley, in my opinion. He definitely moves up, at least a little bit. Plus, Kent State's going to lose everybody because their head coach just went to be the OC at Colorado.
Oh, I didn't make that connection yet. Yeah, that's brutal. I mean, some of them wind up in Colorado, I guess.
Schley won't, but I don't know. I hope.
Yeah.
I really just hope that nobody tries to go compete with Shadur, because even if they are better, they're not going to start, and that's what's going to piss me off.
Yeah. I mean, he played well at a FCS level, but
absolutely. But when Dion's over there, he says, "That's your quarterback."
I know the clip went around.
He tried to walk it back too, but it was like, no, sure.
Yeah, he's like, we know Dion. So one other guy that is trying to move up, it looks like, from a lower level would be Austin Reed from Western Kentucky. But I don't know. I mean, he played well, but is he going to get a shot at a P5 school?
I think Austin Reed's a legit quarterback. I mean, I think he's now had success at multiple levels of football. I think he can have success again if he's in the right system. And I definitely think he has the mental ability to play quarterback at a high level. So,
yeah, I mean, he's a fourth-year player already too. So, someone's looking for a veteran to steady the ship for a year, or maybe bring a recruit in behind him.
Yeah, or even just somebody to compete with your guy. If you don't know if your guy is ready, like if say you're, I don't know, Tennessee, Kentucky, any of these teams that are going to lose their quarterback to the draft, they think they have a plan, but there's no use in not bringing in a guy who's maybe a fifth-year guy who can compete.
So would you be stoked if Austin Reed goes to Tennessee? Would you feel positively about that?
Yeah. I mean, I feel positively about any competition we can get as a fan. Yeah. I mean, we'll see how Joe Milton does in the bowl game against Clemson. That'll be quite the test for him, but we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super enthusiastic. I hope Squirrel White gets used to running short and intermediate routes.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like Reed and Milton would be totally different players.
Yeah, I mean, Reed's like a quick release, right, short area. He was throwing deep a little bit at Kentucky too, right?
Yeah, I mean, he has it. He has it in his arsenal, but it's not like something you would want.
Right.
It's not his best trait. Like Joe Milton's best trait is his arm strength. He just can't control it.
Can't hit anyone. All right, a couple other interesting names here. We had Donovan Smith. I thought he played really well for Texas Tech in a few games this year. Still developing, but was getting it done. They were winning games behind him, both with his legs and his arms. So he's a guy I think that would you think it's fair to say that he's going to make like a parallel move and probably get another decent P5 job?
I think that's exactly what it is. It's going to be a parallel move for him. I mean, Texas Tech wouldn't commit to him, even though he looked like the best one. And I think that's probably why he likely feels wronged, as he should.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about that quarterback competition, though, is there was a game, each one of them had a game where they looked like the best quarterback there. And that was the thing. Shuck's moving on, though, right? Shuck.
Show. I don't think so.
Oh,
I think he still has another. He probably has a COVID year.
Yeah, probably on his COVID year, right? And I saw you had one more name highlighted here. I mean, do you have feelings about Brennan Armstrong? I mean, obviously a guy that had a great season in 2021.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I give him some slack because it was a new offensive coordinator, new head coach this year. He came from that Clemson coaching tree that it's not very inventive,
right?
That I hate so much. But I don't know. It's tough to say if it was him that was succeeding in 2020 or if it was that OC that was succeeding in 2020 because he went on to Syracuse and it succeeded again this year. But yeah, I think Armstrong is toolsy. He definitely has like legs. I mean, they all have legs, but he uses his to run, which gains us fantasy points.
That's true. I mean, and I think some staffs are going to look at what he did and say, you know what, we can bring back that version of Brennan Armstrong and win some games this year.
Yeah, and I think there's also while we're still here, I think there's still a handful of other guys who can get P5 offers, if not P5 jobs. So I'll just quickly go through those guys. I think Graham Mertz could start somewhere. I mean, the Iowa job being taken away kind of hurts. Well, who knows? I think Chance Nolan is a low Power 5 starter, maybe. Hudson Card definitely is a guy that Power 5 teams can take a look at.
Yeah, Card and King both, I think, kind of in that same bucket.
Yeah.
Like good tools, not enough polish to win at the highest level of college football, but enough to steady the ship or win against lower competition. I think
the issue with Haynes King is that we've seen him fail twice, though. We haven't seen Card completely fail yet. just lose the job a few times, but I don't know.
There's still what's in the box.
Yeah. Luke Altmaier, just being able to, apparently that competition was another one that was close all offseason, so I'd keep an eye on him. Kyron Drones was an interesting recruit out of Baylor, but I don't know. It definitely seems like Baylor wants to go a different direction with their offense than when they did with recruit Drones, because Drones is a more athletic guy and Shapen definitely isn't. So I don't know. And then Hank Bachmeier, probably a low P5 guy, like probably a Pac-12 school that nobody cares about. Not Colorado, apparently, but Arizona.
And the other one that we both glossed over too is Jeff Sims. I mean, we've seen him play well in flashes. If you're going to talk about Keene and Wright, he's kind of right in that group, right?
Yeah, Jeff Sims is Mike Wright, in my opinion. Same player.
All right, so the wide receivers is probably the most interesting group to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of fun names in that quarterback class in the portal, but man, there's a lot of names, period, in the wide receiver group. Yeah, that's true. We got pages. These are some of my favorite players, though. Honestly, there's some guys here that you've heard me talk about. Like some of my guys are in the portal, which I feel a little bit like the nervous parent. Are they going to find a nest? But hoping that all my guys move on to a true alpha role in a productive offense and the NFL. So I mean, Dominic Lovett might be the best wide receiver in the portal. If not, he's certainly top 5. Was I think the third leading receiver in the SEC this year, and his efficiency metrics are all phenomenal. His tape looks good, man. I think he's a baller. I don't know where do you see a guy like that landing? You got any thoughts?
Alabama.
Alabama. I mean Tennessee, right? Like Lovett's going up. He ain't going. He ain't going down. He's going to a place that he can dominate and be on TV more.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I hate to say this about Missouri as much as I hate Missouri. There's not that far much up you can go. Like,
right?
There's probably 30, 40 teams that are better than Missouri. I mean, they're still an SEC school.
Yeah. And they're not bad. They're always, put up a fight, put up a respectable performance. But, he's obviously he's got a coach in his ear, right, with a bag of money and saying, you're going to be the guy. We're going to put you in the first round of the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely think, all the hype not being around him, even though the season he had, all the hype was still around Burden. I think that still plays. I think that might have played into it.
Yeah, man. No one wants to be the little brother, right?
Yeah. And Joshua Manning coming in next year too, another highly touted recruit that's going to be a bigger name, quite possibly.
So who's your favorite name in this group?
Like the best player?
I don't know. Your guy, best player. Who are you the most excited about?
I kind of think Dorian Singer might be the best player. The best wide receiver in the portal.
He's my guy on this, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, what he did in the back half of that year, just like completely taking over the job, even with Jacob Cowing and Ted McMillan, who I think are both fantastic receivers. Super impressive.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the film is nice too. Just he's got some real highlight, real catches in there, and yeah, I mean, the efficiency with a subpar quarterback, outproducing two other talents that both you and I are really high on. I think Cowing gets drafted not in the last couple of rounds, right? Probably 4 or 5, and Tet might be I don't know why people don't have him as high as I do, but
I think I'm not sure if this is part of the decision or not, but Cowing announced he was coming back.
What?
Yeah,
that's crazy to me. I mean, I got him on a ton of teams, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'd rather have him on the
especially without Singer.
Yeah. 1,500 yards incoming. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, I bet that does play into it, right? And again, like someone's tampering with him. He knows where he's going already. How are you feeling about the
does he?
boy?
Does he?
I
feel like more people would have committed yesterday if they all knew where they were going.
Right, but if you're Singer, you have 3 or 4 offers. They all have price tags attached to them, and you and your agent and your family are trying to figure out what gets you drafted or what your priority is.
True.
I mean, you heard the thing about Mac Brown saying, right, that one of his players had 15 offers already. I'm assuming they mean Drake May, but
no, yeah, but would you really risk NCAA violations for Dorian Singer? You would definitely risk him for Drake May because Drake May is a top 6 player in all of college football.
Yeah. I mean, Drake May can take a mediocre program and make it win games.
Just like he did this year.
Yeah, he did, man. That defense was a gift that kept on giving for fantasy football. I'll tell you that. So, Alabama guys, I think that's the elephant in the room. I mean, 1, how do we feel about them? 2, what's going on at Alabama? That all these guys are, flooding out of the program.
I don't know. The only one that surprised me was Holden. I think Holden was the leading receiver on that team this year. If not second.
Yeah.
But yeah, Earl and Leary weren't even playing that much, so that doesn't really surprise me. But
I feel like JoJo took some of Prentice's snaps in the second half. They were competing for that slot role, whereas Holden, I feel like Holden started the year as the X because whatever was going on with Brooks, if he was doghoused, And then as the year went on, Brooks really started to take over. And, they rotated out, but at least that was my impressions from watching the games. I could be a little, Brooks was the leading receiver,
Brooks,
and I bet if
Burton,
you
and
look at
then Holden.
Yeah, and I bet if you look at the game logs, you're going to see, right, like Holden, high percentage snaps at the beginning of the year and kind of tapered off. So, I guess none of them really shocking, although I do think that, I would have said that JoJo, could have had the slot role to start off next year, but, I mean, maybe it looks like Prentice is going to be the guy there. And that's that makes me.
What separates JoJo from Isaiah Bond? That's who I think it is.
I think they're a different role. Bond's a flanker, isn't he?
I mean, they're both just fast.
Yeah. But I saw Bond. I thought, at least my impressions from watching him, and I'm very interested in Bond, man. He was kind of off my radar a little bit just because, and this is a lesson for me in supplemental draft, is that, like, I don't know, the less hyped guys, I honestly have about as much of a chance of succeeding. Like, once they're all in the program, it's kind of like all bets are off, in a place like Alabama. That's what I've seen from the past few years, right? Like, how badly did we overdraft Brooks and underdraft Bond and Prentice and those guys?
I mean, Bond was still like stupid fast as a recruit, like Olympic track speed fast, and like was absolutely cooking corners off the line at the All-American Bowl. I mean, I like Bond as a recruit. I think part of me still think Bond is the future guy there. Like the guy that's gonna get drafted first round again, like the next one.
Yeah, right. We're kind of in a lull of the great Alabama wide receiver, right? I mean, although like Brooks flashes and he looks really good on some plays, but it's not their game. It's not their week in and week out, and he's not taking over games, right? Like the guys that we know and love, like the Waddles and even like Judy when he was there would take over games, and it really caused damage. So I mean, it does. I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, Alabama's totally an enigma. I mean, we expected them to be great this year. I mean, Bryce Young's final season, Jahmyr Gibbs coming in his final season, but they couldn't figure out the wide receiver room. They couldn't figure out the tight end room either, which didn't help. I mean, I don't know, because they're going to need a quarterback. They're going to need wide receivers, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you think they're looking for their number one in the portal this year?
Wide receiver?
Yeah.
I think so. I think they were last year, and then Burton just didn't work out.
Didn't work out, yeah. I mean, do you think Burton comes out for the draft? He isn't declared yet.
I doubt it.
He should, though. You don't think he should?
Should he?
I don't know.
Should he?
I mean, how much do you improve your draft stock? Are you still trying to ride the wave of hype you had and, maybe work your way into a 4th, 5th round conversation? Or I just don't think it gets.
That's the thing. Yeah, he is. He probably still gets drafted this year as a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
If he does the same thing again next year, he probably still gets drafted still, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a 7th.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the question
but
is,
like, if he is the one next year, he's a 1st round pick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's like all gain to stay and no loss.
Maybe.
And you're still getting money.
You're still getting money. Well, is he? How much money are these guys getting? Like a Jermaine Burton. I mean, he probably got money because he was hyped up as a transfer. But you looking it up on the NIL list?
Yeah, I'm curious what his.
They can't all be making millions of dollars. It seems unrealistic. There's not that much.
His projected annual value on On3 is $134,000.
Ain't bad for a 20-year-old kid, right?
Yeah, I wish I was making $134,000.
He'll probably make more in the NFL, though.
Yeah,
probably make at least a few $100,000
if he stays on the roster.
That's true. You get kicked to the curb by the end of training camp, but I don't know. I think he's still got some talent. So yeah, let's move on. I mean, you had the next guy on the list that I think we both like a lot. You want to get into Cephas?
Yeah, Dante Cephas. I mean, like I said, everybody on Kent State's out of there. Um, and they deserve it. Dante Cephas was incredible this season and has had a strong college career. And I think he's definitely moving up. I mean, rumor is that he got a Georgia offer today, and that would fit. I mean, so I think he'll end up in the SEC, honestly, somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, a
Maybe
lot to
not
like
Georgia if
about
he
his.
wants to get drafted.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia has AD, right? He's going to be the one there next year, I'd think. He's a good player.
Yeah,
But I mean, Cephas does have like that length and speed, right? Like he's a true deep threat. Um, yeah, he's gonna have a role for sure. In an SEC school. I'm with you. I don't know if he's the one, but I think he's got a shot, to earn that in the right situation. So my next guy I had here was actually this is a guy that I don't know if you were high on him coming into the season, but I really liked Keegan Johnson of Iowa. He had some peripherals in his profile last year, just like rack god, and decent productivity numbers for a freshman, even in and like decent counting numbers despite being on Iowa's offense. What do you think about Keegan?
I don't know what it is about Iowa, but they always have like the most athletic wide receivers that aren't even used.
Right.
I remember the 2020 off season where there was no combine. We got all these pro day numbers, and it was like 3 Iowa wide receivers at the top for wide receivers. Like, who wouldn't have even got combine invites? Like,
Right.
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. So they should use them or something. I like Keegan. I think he can. He's definitely somebody to watch in terms of like a CFF guy, especially because nobody's going to look at his peer counting stats and be like, oh, I want this guy on my CFF team. But he can definitely command a role.
Yeah, when we were making this list, he was one of the names that jumped out to me as a guy that like I'm probably going to target in my early off-season drafts because he's going to be cheap. You're going to get him in like the 35th round or 30th round. He's going to cost you nothing, and the upside there is real. Like he could be an NFL player that just was on the worst offense in the world, and goes for 900 yards and 7 touchdowns this year, and a decent offense.
Yeah.
All right, you got a bunch of guys in this group. You want to just fire off who you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think we can fire off like the G5 guys that I think will move up. I think Tyrese Chambers moves up. I think he should have moved up last year, and then somehow that new coaching staff convinced him to stay. But if I remember right, he had like a Purdue offer last year, among some others. Corey Crooms from Western Michigan probably moves up. Um, he was. I'm pretty sure he was pretty good back with like Ellaby as the second option, and then the Western Michigan passing attack just wasn't as good this season as a whole. Ali Jennings is a guy who's going to move up at least to the ACC from Old Dominion. He's been a really good CFF producer. I think he was like a top 10 wide receiver this season. I also thought he was out of eligibility, so I was trying to trade for him in like my playoff teams, and somebody was like, "No, he still plays next year," and I was like, "Darn." I think Deshaun Stribling from Washington State moves up, even though he's already P5. I think he takes another step up, and I think he should. He had a really impressive freshman campaign, one of the best ones in that class, along with Xavier Worthy. Obviously not that same level, but he was like the next tier of guy. I think he moves up a little bit. I think he deserves it. I think that air raid kind of style at offense they're still playing at Washington State doesn't really help him go pro in the future, so I don't mind the move.
Yeah, I mean I kind of had the same thought about Rara, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi State, they're always putting up crazy yardage, but they never, at least since I've been really into college football, they rarely had like the go-to guy racking up a crazy amount of yards. It's always 4 guys with 700 yards at the end of the season. So I think he's in that same, category as Stribling, where, they're going to want to find somewhere where they're the guy, right? And they're going to get, 25% target share and really, really have some production.
Yeah, I mean, that's just been Leach's offense his entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the running back basically gets just as many receptions as the wide receiver 3, and then at that point, you're playing 6 wide receivers half the time. Nobody gets an actual I'm not sure when the last time Mike Leach had a 1,000-yard receiver would be.
I mean, I can't remember. So you know this stuff better than me, but
I thought it was going to be River Craycraft in 2016, his senior year, but he only had 900. So I have no clue.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting kind of litmus test, right, with these ex-air raid guys that are, I mean, Rabra's a 4.4 guy. He's got awesome traits. He was a high recruit. Stribling, obviously, with the freshman profile that we like, that, was a strong signal for success. I'm really interested to see what happens to them. And, yeah, I mean, and Jennings is so interesting. Like, is he going to be able to produce at a high level, as an SEC or ACC wide receiver? I think he certainly is going to be a starter, but is he going to be able to put up that 1,000-yard plus 12 touchdown season?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be an every week starter for CFF anymore. He'll be a good matchup starter for sure.
Yeah, depends where he lands too. You know what I mean? He could go to a little bit of a weaker program and get featured and really still cause some damage.
Yeah, I mean, if he's playing at Duke or Virginia Tech, which is where he has offers to, I'm not going to play him against Clemson, but I'll play him against Duke and Virginia Tech, whichever one he doesn't land at.
That's funny. I mean, VT's already, I guess a lot of their guys are out of eligibility, though. I mean, they had decent wide receiver core, a bunch of dudes anyways.
Yeah, they just had no quarterback.
No quarterback, right? All right, so yeah, I was interested in a couple of the guys, speaking of Clemson, transferring out of there, because you got two guys with pedigree that have produced when given the opportunity. EJ, obviously, we thought he was going to be the guy for a little while, a couple of years ago, and Dakari smashed in the bowl game last year, had over 100 yards. So both high level recruits that I think are going to get a good shot at a decent job here in the portal.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even have hated if they stayed at Clemson with Klubnik next season because they'll probably see more success.
Yeah, I think the writing's on the wall, though. That room is going to be Antonio Williams and Adam Randall, right? And then Bo Collins. Yeah. And they're probably not running 4 wide,
And Shipley. Tons of Shipley, I'm sure.
Shipley for freaking 2,000 yards next year. That's a good quarterback. Very excited to own a lot of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other couple of names that caught my eye here were Grant Dubose, right, from Charlotte, who has been really productive, a really good CFF asset. And then Ashton Hawkins, who was one of the most efficient. I think he's a sophomore this year. Or was Ashton Hawkins a freshman? Do you remember?
I think sophomore's right.
Sophomore, but I want to say he's at the top of, a lot of categories of efficiency as a sophomore. And I always ding the G5 guys a little bit, when I'm looking at, secondary metrics, but nonetheless, that's something worth paying attention to. And, he might be a guy that can both make a jump and, significantly develop into, maybe an NFL prospect if he continues the arc.
Yeah. I'll add Elijah Spencer, also out of Charlotte. I mean, Dubose had that great 2020 season and then wasn't quite as good this year, and that's mostly because Elijah Spencer broke out.
Right.
I mean, Elijah Spencer had 7 less receptions, but 150 more yards this season. So definitely more of a downfield threat than Dubose, and definitely another guy who can make that jump.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. He's definitely a guy that's been a riser, and it's popping up in some of the charts. And then the other name I saw here that we highlighted that we kind of glossed over a little bit was Theo Weezy, right? Like long-time Oklahoma veteran here, former 5-star recruit. Where does he go?
I think it's parallel, but somewhere that didn't win 6 games this season. Somewhere that won more than that. I don't know. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Kansas State. I don't know.
Ole Miss is actually a really interesting destination for some of these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, program that's always been a feeder, in the recent years, and has a decent quarterback, a good offensive coordinator, and not much at all at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Even
but like, I don't know. It seems like even when they have people that we think are talented at wide receiver with Kiffin, they don't produce.
Yeah, Kifkin's taken over. He's only been there for 2 years, right?
I think 3. But like Mingo, Jalen Robinson, there's somebody else.
So you think it's a spread the ball offensive philosophy, or?
Yeah, and he runs the ball a ton, which people don't tend to think, but he runs the ball so much.
I mean, when your choices at running back are Zach Evans and the freshman, you're gonna run the ball 40 times a game.
But like even in 2021, when he had Matt Corral, and
right,
it was still a lot of Ely and Connor and Parrish.
Right, that's true.
Oh, the wide receiver I'm thinking of is Dontario Drummond.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, Drummond broke out as a senior, right? I mean, he was a big CFF pick.
Yeah, he had 1,000 yards. Yeah. Braylon Sanders too.
Yeah. Anyone else you want to talk about a wide receiver before we slide over to running backs?
Dante Thornton was a highly touted recruit. I think he's only a sophomore now, so that could be interesting.
Yeah, second year was played pretty well as a freshman, and it was on the field right away. Deep threat. So, someone that's looking for that true big body deep threat is going to snatch him up for sure.
And Jack Beck, just because he's listed under here, I think if he stays listed at tight end, he'll be great for CFF.
I like Beck, man. He's a steamroller.
I do too. I think he's a good player. I just don't think he's a high enough target share guy to succeed as a wide receiver for fantasy.
I mean, I think he couldn't carve out a role there, right? I mean, he got pushed to the side by Neighbors and Booty coming back, and there wasn't targets for him.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, it's just kind of like tight end is so much. You need less points in general to be a good tight end than you do a wide receiver. So I'd just like him to stay at tight end.
Stay a tight end, my friend. All right.
So at least it's just for Fantrax eligibility, he can play whatever he wants on that field.
Play whatever you want. Just Fantrax. I mean, Fantrax seems married to him as a tight end. They hardly changed him this year at all, right? So
yeah.
All right. I think we got some really fun names here at running back to talk through. And I probably got to go to bed like 15 minutes on this. But I mean, obviously the headliner, of course, is Ball State's Carson Steele, who was a beast this year. Man, he is my model's going to love him. He could have come out, I thought, and got drafted after that season. But obviously looking to improve his futures with a move up to a more high-profile school.
That's one like Austin Reed, where like if you had him in CFF, you're just sad. Yeah. like in C2C, you can like kind of see an upside because maybe he makes it pro now.
Right.
But if you had him in like a CFF dynasty, you're just sad. He's not going to score as many points. No. He'll still be good, but
right, he'll be like an RB2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
where do you think he could end up? Where he'd like start and do well?
I think he could start at a lot of programs. I think anywhere that doesn't have an elite running back, he's going to supplant the starter. I honestly do. I think he's an excellent running back. And, I mean, all the, like, metrics I care about for running backs, like yards after contact, missed forced tackles, I don't read too much into just, like, yards per touch and stuff. But, He was just good across the board. It's basically him and Bijan Robinson at the top of all those charts right now. Obviously, he's not playing against the same talent, but I mean, how much do you knock him? You knock him a little bit, but he's still, probably top 25, even taking into consideration a conference adjustment.
Who else you like?
All right, who else you want to talk about here?
Hit you at the wrong time. Trey Sanders. We'll hop to Trey Sanders. I think he could be an interesting fit somewhere. What level are we thinking? Like high G5, like Cincinnati. Didn't really work out well for Cincinnati this season, but
yeah, what kind of right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, Sanders was getting snaps, competing against high-level running backs. Although you have to wonder how much is that. I do think Saban puts the seniors out there because he wants to give them a chance to play. I don't know. The kid has all the pedigree in the world, right? He was the top running back in that class before he destroyed both his knees. I could see him stay at a P5 school, but I don't know. I don't see him as an NFL player at this point. Do you?
No. But he could be. Really, I don't know. He could have a job though. He could be the one somewhere.
I mean, Brian Robinson is an NFL player, so never say never. One of my other favorite guys here is Ramon Davis, man. I think he's a really good running back. Was awesome, not this year, but last year. Really was on 2023 draft lists and, kind of didn't increase his stock this year, but I don't think he really hurt it either. I mean, he was on a bad team and he was still highly productive.
What year is he?
I think he was a junior this year.
Really?
I believe, yeah.
Davis is too big of a trend for there's too many results for Davis under Sports Reference. And I don't know how to spell his first name. Yeah. I give up. Yeah. Yeah, I think Ray Davis is good. Obviously, Vandy's not going to help from a, offensive system standpoint or an offensive line standpoint. So I think it's good for him to move up.
Yeah. Probably parallel move in terms of program, but definitely a positive move for him.
If he can parallel move in terms of program, but lower the level of competition, which wouldn't be hard to do. He just has to transfer out of the SEC. Right. That'd be good for him.
I got him up. So this was his fourth year. He played 2 years at Temple, 2 years at Vandy. Yeah. And this is the first year he must have got injured, right? The sophomore or something. So he had almost 1,000 yards as a freshman, and he hit 1,000 again this year with 2 pretty bad seasons in the middle.
Speaking of guys that could probably benefit from getting out of the SEC, I think LJ Johnson is interesting. At least a highly touted recruit. Never really did much at A&M.
I mean, a super high-level athlete. He ran, at least in his recruiting profiles, it was advertised he was a 4.4 type guy at 220 pounds. So that's serious athleticism. But why couldn't he get on the field?
Yeah.
I mean, how many carries did he have this year? He had 15 carries or something, Something off field is an issue, I think, for sure. But we'll see. Maybe he gets a second shot. He's the kind of guy, too, if he does go down a level, could be a 1,400-yard rusher just on, brute force and speed.
Yeah. Or on a decent offense, he could easily be a 15 touchdown guy, which is great for fantasy.
Yeah, or he could wash out of college football. Just always worry when
the possibilities are endless.
A couple other guys here that I think were high in Devy circles last year that are worth talking about, and that's Travian Cooley from Louisiana and Byron Cardwell from Oregon. I mean, I was drafting Byron this year. I really thought he was going to be, the guy on that Oregon offense, and it didn't seem to work out that well for him.
Yeah, I was never really a Cardwell guy, but I was honestly never really a Cooley guy either. I liked Cooley as a talent. I just never thought he was going to be the one going into the season at Louisville. And but I don't know. Louisville's one of those programs that's going to lose everybody this year. I mean, Satterfield moving on, Cunningham I think is out of eligibility. Evans is going pro.
Cunningham's older than you are, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think both those guys bump down, but then become really interesting to me if they're playing at a G5
That's
level.
true. That's true. I can see that. Justin Williams too.
Yeah. Does he even really move down, or does he get another shot at P5?
I don't know. He definitely got outcompeted by Dylan Sampson this year. He's still a freshman. I think that's what's motivating him to leave.
Yeah.
Although I would have loved to see them as like Thunder and Lightning, because Sampson is tiny and fast, and Williams is big and strong. But yeah, I think Williams can definitely be quite the pounder somewhere if he finds the right system that wants to, run it up the gut.
Yeah,
it's definitely not Tennessee.
No, not Heupel's bag. All right, you got anyone else here it's worth talking about?
I think Nathan Carter's worth talking about. When I saw he entered the portal, when I saw he entered the portal, I was like, oh yeah, Nathan Carter deserves to move up. But he's projected to go to UMass now, so
moved all the way up to UMass.
Hopefully, like somebody swoops in. It's like, hey, we want you, and he'll go, oh, you're better than UMass. I would have loved if he stayed at UConn too. I mean, UConn's headed in the right direction at some point, kind of.
Yeah, he was before he got hurt this year. He was crushing too. He had that 200-yard game, right? I mean, he was one of my big waiver pickups after week 1 or 2, whatever it was. Yeah, disappointing.
Yeah, and he had a great freshman season too last year.
Right. Yeah, playing behind someone, but yeah. Okay, you just highlighted all of the tight ends.
All of them except for all. Actually.
Erik All doesn't tickle your pickle?
No. I mean, the thing about tight end is that it's not hard to be fantasy relevant at tight end, especially in college. And there are some good ones. These aren't bad tight ends by no means. Austin Stogner obviously had some very solid years at Oklahoma, highly touted recruit. We thought he'd take off, and that South Carolina offense, that's pretty much the same thing he was doing at Oklahoma with the same quarterback, same offensive coordinator, basically. Right. But nothing came of that. So that's an interesting one. I kind of expected him to stay, especially with Jaheim Bell also in the portal, coming out of South Carolina. He's incredibly athletic, definitely has the athleticism at the tight end position to make it pro in the future. So he's definitely a name I'd be watching very closely. Rivaldo Fairweather is in the exact same boat as Bell. Insanely athletic for a tight end. Has a pro future if he moves up, in my opinion. And Florida International did not know how to use him whatsoever. And then Joshua Simon had some really good years at Western Kentucky, so figured we'd throw him in there as well. He'll be in his 6th or 7th season, I think, next year. So CFF, we're watching him for sure. We love old guys in CFF. And then the last one.
You do, man.
Yeah, the last one is Kyle Morlock from Shorter University. Deep cut here, but he has Tennessee offer, an Auburn offer, and a few other SEC offers. So this is a guy who clearly impressed some people in Division II or wherever the heck Shorter is. I've never heard of him. So,
had you heard the name Morlock before?
When he entered the portal, I think somebody tweeted about him. Probably Chris Moxley. He's the guy who gets all those guys you never heard about and tweets about him.
Moxley is good at that, man. He's the man. Now I'm going to look him up Clearly, I hadn't even caught on to that whole scenario. Tennessee and FSU. Wisconsin has one out. Number 2 portal and the number 2 tight end in the portal today. 6'7", 250.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Oh man, and he's an athlete too. Seeing some clips of him on the Twitters. All right, man. Well, that was fun. You got any parting shots here on today's portal craziness? Any landing spots you want to call out, or?
I'll go ahead. The only one I'm confident in is that Ra Thomas is headed to Tennessee. I mean, he had the visit yesterday, the offer yesterday. I think he'll be here next season.
That. I think that's great, honestly. As long as you guys get someone with an arm.
There was a rumor today out of Ohio State that was then denied by Tennessee beat reporters that Dallin Hayden has a insane NIL offer from Tennessee. And it's technically not tampering because his father is an alum.
Is that a thing?
Yes, because you can talk to alumni.
Oh, that's wild. I like that, man. I mean, I love Hayden, and you got Evan Pryor coming back, right? Who played well before the injury.
And Travion. And Mayan, right?
Yeah. I think Mayan comes out, don't you?
I don't know.
I guess with the NIL, maybe he doesn't, but I've been assuming Mayan comes out. But maybe a faulty assumption.
He might have already announced because I think the thing I read said something about him going. No, I guess he hasn't said anything yet. I don't know. Yeah,
I think he gets drafted.
Speaking of Ohio State and people getting drafted, what do you think about Smith and Jigba not playing in a playoff game?
I don't know, man. I mean, did he just do the soft Jamar Chase this year? Is that what happened?
I mean, apparently his hamstring is string cheese, but
the 12-month hamstring injury or whatever it is, 6-month hamstring. I mean, come on. And our NFL team's going to care. I mean, that's it seems like if it was a serious injury, it seems like now it's going to be a medical thing, right? What's going on with this kid? And if it wasn't a serious injury, then it's why didn't he play? I think it's not a good look for him either way.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I think it was McShay or somebody was on NFL Network today, and they were they basically hinted that he's not actually hurt. He's healthy. Yeah. And why isn't he playing in the playoff?
I mean, or if you want to protect yourself for the draft, just say that. Say, hey, I want to focus on training for the draft. I don't want to take a chance getting injured. And that's fine. That's look it out for yourself. But I think that's acceptable. But yeah, man, the whole I'm hurt, but it's like a Kadarius Toney, right? You're gonna do the hamstring hop up to the draft table. I don't know. I think we're going to be talking a lot about JSN. He's going to be one of the guys that we argue about for
absolutely
the next 4 months. It's already, I'm getting it. Just anyone with a model is he's clearly the wide receiver 1, or people are just looking at the box score. Oh, he outproduced Garrett Wilson in the lobby. They're good. Therefore, by the transitive property, JSN is good, right? Without doing
didn't do crap this year.
Did nothing, and yeah, he racked up 600 yards playing against, slot corners and nickelbacks. And, it's just the film isn't Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's film is just a silent, ninja assassin, and Olave is the same way. And JSN's nice, athletically running through the soft spot and zone, over and over again, the releases are awesome. But I mean, that's what you get if you watch his tape. It's him running, in breaking routes and against zone coverage for 8 minutes in every single game. So
yeah, and I think it's wild to say this, but I don't think this wide receiver class is near as good as we thought it was 12 months ago.
No, I mean, I've kind of been on that for a little while. The running back class is like nuts, right? Like you're
Yeah.
going to get guys that are going to turn into NFL starters at the end of the second round. Like you just are, you know. And yeah, I'm less confident in the quarterback class and the wide receiver class, right? Like last year there was like, I don't know, there wasn't really questions about Wilson, right? He was near perfect prospect for me. Olave, once they got him through my model, and you started to see like some of the the guys doing route work on him, like Matt Harmon, doing routes on him, felt super confident about Olave. Burks was so high in my model that it would be extraordinarily improbable for him to like really fall flat in his face. I don't know that I'm going to have that level of confidence about many guys this year. Like, because my model's not going to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And you
My
didn't even
model's not
mention.
gonna, like,
You didn't mention like Drake London and
Right.
Jamison Williams.
Right. Both, and Jameson was like at the top of my model, just efficiency from this year and teammate score. And yeah, Drake London, obviously phenomenal as well. But like, so JSN, like the model's going to like him, but all the questions, and QJ, the model's not going to like him because just he never had that dominant of a target share or, never racked up real counting stats, but the traits are phenomenal, right? So that's like a film versus traits thing, that's already hitting. And then, I mean, Booty went back, so, and Addison's going to be the one guy that I think
That's true.
is just
That's true.
super safe, right? Like, model's going to love him. Film looks good. I don't have any, size, a little bit small, but do we even care anymore?
Yeah. I think the model's going to love Josh Downs too. It should.
Yeah. Yep, it should. Yeah, really elite production last year. Yeah, and then actually Flowers is coming up pretty nicely, although
he's still late declare,
late declare, right? Although you kind of like he's one of those guys you can tell the story about last year, right? Because awesome sophomore year, and then last year's quarterback gets hurt. The offense is just a steaming pile of shit, right? And kind of makes sense. And then he comes back and does what you want to see a senior do, and just like wreck shop, How you feeling about Reishi?
What's that? Oh,
Reishi Rice.
I've never been a fan. I think he's an NFL starter, but not special.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, he's got some really nice traits, like the rack stuff with him is pretty cool. Like definitely athletic in that manner. But I'm always skeptic about these guys that like he dominated, but at a G5 level. And he didn't do it at a very young age, right? Like really didn't dominate until his fourth year in college. It's kind of like, I don't know.
We'll have to save this conversation for a later date because there's so many question marks in that wide receiver class as a whole that we can just keep going.
Yeah.
All day long.
I think over the next month, like we're gonna maybe do a couple other like one-off episodes and then just really hammer draft content, like a couple of weeks on each wide receiver group after. Like not maybe give it a couple of weeks so we can all do our own scouting and kind of collaborate and come together and, really get our rankings down and look at it from all the angles. Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it more than anything.
We're going to have fun. All right. I'm going to bed. I had fun. Thanks for coming on, Kyle. And for anyone out there watching this or watching this on a rerun tomorrow, thanks for joining us. And, definitely shoot me and Kyle some DMs. Follow us. Hit us on the YouTube. Follow us on the Twitters. And let us know what you think about the content. What do you like us to talk about? Do you think we're wrong? Are we right? Their names were missing. Where do you want to see these guys go? And have a good night.